This is not an original or a City Toys figure, but it's still a bootleg. Let's check it out. Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this video we're gonna take a look at this MAFEX Tiger Stripe Wolverine knockoff that I found on AliExpress. If you guys remember, a few weeks ago I've made a video about this bootleg being out there. It's not a City Toys version, that one is on its way to me and I should have it in a week or so. But this here is a KO that goes by the name of MAF. I've reviewed few of these MAF KOs in the past. For example, this Venom here, which also has that MAF logo down here, and a MAF Deadpool that I got loose without the box. I'm pretty much satisfied with both of these figures, and so I hope that this Wolverine will also be good. But on the other hand, I have read some of your comments saying that you received this figure and that it's really bad. So I'm going into this review without setting the bar too high. I just hope that this guy doesn't fall apart as soon as I get him out of the box. I will do my best to show you guys everything that you are interested in seeing about this KO. I will compare this KO to the City Toys brown suit version. I will try to swap out the heads and hands between the two, and I will do the same when City Toys version of Tiger Stripe arrives. But first, as always, a quick look at the packaging here, and right away you can tell that this is a bigger box than what City Toys gives us. Here it is, next to the City Toys brown suit Wolverine box, and you can see that this one is bigger, well, not maybe bigger, but definitely thicker than the City Toys one. These MAF boxes are actually the same size as the original MAFEX boxes. Here is the original MAFEX X-Force Wolverine packaging, and you can see that they are the same size. As always, we have a big window showing the figure and accessories, a promo shot of the figure, Wolverine, X-Men, MAF. Up here we have an image from the comics, and they removed the Marvel logo that should be here. Then it says 6-inch, number 96, and MAFEX. So for some reason here it says MAFEX, but down here only MAF. On the side we have the logos with a promo shot of the figure. On the back even more promo shots together with all the accessories. Other side once again shows the figure, MAF, number 96. Nothing special at the top, legalese on the bottom. So now let's open it up and let's take a look at the figure. Here is MAF Wolverine out of the box, and my first impressions are so far so good. Nothing is broken, it's not falling apart. For the most part the joints are sturdy. The only joint that is slightly loose is his right knee joint. But as you can see, it's not floppy, it's just loose a little bit. Everything else looks and feels good. The X on the belt is tilted to the side and the belt is glued, so you can't adjust it to be centered. That could be frustrating for some people, but the overall proportions look good. Let's get this out of the way. There are no visible metallic loops on the elbow joints that we see on City Toys bootlegs. So there's that. The overall paint job is good enough, especially for a bootleg figure. These things will vary from figure to figure because, again, it's a KO, so don't expect consistency here. But based on what I have here, there is a minimum paint bleeding. I see it just slightly here on the nose. Black paint is going over the edge towards the middle of the nose where the yellow is. And down here on this black stripe we have another example. Tiger stripes are not fully filled in with paint, and this one here is misprinted. But you should expect these kinds of things on a knockoff. Blue paint is nice and metallic, although it is lighter than on the original. I don't have the original, but from what I saw from other people's reviews, blue paint is definitely lighter on this KO. Yellow suit has a little bit of orangish shading. It's really subtle, but it is there. You can see it on the back of the figure as well. Going back to the head, it looks really good. The eyes are well painted, no issues there. Black ears of the mask also look good, and even looking at their backside, it's nicely painted for the most part. I do notice that the orangish shading that we have on the body is missing here on the head, so that's unfortunate. And the skin tone of the face is just slightly more pale in comparison to his arms, where they applied a kind of pinkish shading. There is no shading on the elbows, so they also look slightly different from the rest of the arms. His arm hair is also here, it's sharp, it's nicely done, but I've noticed that it's made with blue paint, while on the original, at least from what I saw, it is black. The gloves look nice and clean. Well, there is a little bit more of paint bleeding on the silver pieces for his claws, but it's not that noticeable. Shoulder pieces are pegged into the back side of the arms, and you can move and adjust them. His right biceps joint is extremely tight. It feels like it's stuck, and you will hear a clicking sound when I try to move it. Always heat up these figures with a hairdryer or hot water before you start forcing those stiff joints to move. That goes equally for KOs and the originals. But all in all, again, so far, not that many major issues here. You could have some of these same problems with the original figures as well. And this is a $20 KO. Keep that in mind. Let's now take a look at his accessories. First, he comes with a stand. And it's not just any stand. This actually looks like a MAFEX stand. I don't know if it's the real deal, I assume that it's a copy, but it looks the same as your standard typical MAFEX stand, so that's a surprise, that's nice to see. He comes with an alternate head sculpt with an angry face, and this one is also really well done. The eyes are nicely painted, there is no paint bleeding on the nose here, but a little bit of black color is missing here above the eye. The teeth are nicely sculpted, a little bit of white is missing on one side, but overall, looking at it like this, it looks really good. Here is the back side so that we can see that the ears are nicely painted on this one as well. And again, orangish shading is missing. We also get an unmasked Logan head, and this looks fantastic. The sculpt is nice and sharp, and so is the paint. I mean, the eyes are really well applied. The eyebrows, the hair with the shading. Yeah, this turned out pretty good. I'm really looking forward to seeing how the City Toys version will end up, and it'll be interesting to see side by side the two unmasked heads. And then of course with the unmasked head you get his mask down accessory that goes around his neck, really well made, nicely painted, so no issues here. We get a pair of relaxed hands. They come on this sprue that we get with the original MAFEX releases, so that's good. He obviously comes with two fisted hands that are already on the figure, and of course he comes with a pair of claw hands, and these are those straight claws that most collectors do not like, but that's what we got with the original, and that's what this KO copied, so we are getting them in this release as well. They are really well done. We have that same metallic blue paint for the fist, and then the claws that are painted in silver. They are straight, they do look good, and no paint bleeding here, so that's good to see. Here is how the alternate masked head and the clawed hands look on the figure, and I do have to warn you that for some reason it was extremely difficult to remove the head that was initially on the figure. I had to heat up the plastic, but the pin remained in the head, so I had to remove the pin as well, put it back in the neck, and then I was able to attach the alternate head. So just keep that in mind. Be careful when you are swapping these parts out, because you could easily break something, and you don't want to do that, even though it's a KO, of course. The hands were also a little bit difficult to put on, but not as difficult as it was with the head. There's that. But this looks good. This is exactly what I wanted to see, and I'm glad that this works. Here he is with the alternate unmasked head. The hood is down here, and I have to say that the same thing as with the previous head, this one was really stiff, really difficult to put on that neck peg, so I had to heat up the head to make the plastic softer, and then I was able to connect it to the neck. Now let's take a look at his articulation. The head can rotate side to side, it has a great range of tilt, he can look down this much up. We have a generous butterfly joint, and this is how far he can move his arms across the chest. This is how far it goes back. Arms rotate, shoulder pads are on a hinge, as already mentioned. Arms move out all the way. We have a bicep swivel, double jointed elbow, wrists swivel, and they move in any direction depending on how you turn that peg. There are two cuts in the torso, one up here and the other one behind the belt. So together they give you a nice range of movement, side to side tilt, rotation. He crunches forward this much, back this much. Legs have a drop down joint and a thigh swivel. But here is the main issue with this figure in terms of articulation. The legs have a limited range of going out. This is as far as you can go with these legs. Is it some kind of design flaw, something? These pegs inside are jammed into the upper part of the thigh joint. So if you continue to flex the leg out, it will stress the peg and eventually it will break. I can pop this off. It looks like this part up here needs a little bit more trimming. That's something that definitely can be done. I will try to do that myself, because when you have more opening up here, then you will be able to bend the legs out a little bit more. So as it is, that is the range that you will get. Legs kick forward this much, back this much. We have double jointed knees, boot swivel, feet move forward this much, back this much. We have a generous toe joint and a nice ankle pivot. So all in all, the articulation on this guy is pretty good, except the fact that his right arm, well, the bicep swivel is really stiff and that the legs can't move out more than this. Those are the two limitations, which I assume can be fixed, one with trimming the joint and the other one with a little bit of shock oil. Let's now compare this guy to some other figures. Here is how he scales with City Toys Brown Suit Wolverine and MAFEX X-Force Wolverine. As I already said, I don't have the original MAFEX 96 Tiger Stripe Wolverine, but I do have this original X-Force one, and I can say that they are the same size. City Toys Brown Suit Wolverine is slightly shorter. For some reason on camera you don't see that as much as I see it here in person, but City Toys is definitely a little bit shorter. I'm assuming that this guy has the same height as the original Tiger Stripe Wolverine. Now, since we are doing this, and I'm sure a lot of you guys want to see some of the head swaps and hand swaps between these two figures, let's do that and let's see if the parts and pieces are interchangeable. Here is the alternate masked head that came with this MAF bootleg. As you can see, it does fit this City Toys Brown Suit Wolverine. The ball peg is slightly smaller, it is loose as you can see, but it doesn't fall off. Orangish shading is missing from the yellow on the mask, and in comparison with the City Toys version, the orange shading is here on this head. On the other hand, this is how the City Toys head looks on this MAF body. Even though the ball peg looks to be the same size as the hole in the City Toys head, for some reason, even after heating up the head, it just doesn't want to connect to the neck peg. But if you manage to do it, this is what you will end up getting. And then here is how they both look with their alternate unmasked heads when they are swapped between the two. I would say that this head from a MAF release works better on the City Toys body than the other way around. This head I felt was too small even for this body, but on this one it looks even smaller. The head will fit, as you can see, but it's not a perfect connection, so some adjustments should be done. And on this one, the head just won't stay on this ball peg. And if you want to swap out the hands between these two guys, I can say that the City Toys hands fit perfectly on this guy, while the MAF hands are kind of too stiff, and I assume that with heating up the plastic it will be possible to put these hands on City Toys figure. But I love this figure, so I don't want to push it and break the peg, but I assume that this is something that you're more interested in than this here, so this works perfectly. Moving forward, this is how he scales with Marvel Legends X-Men 97 Tiger Stripe Wolverine and Cyclops. And here you can see that this the MAF bootleg, is definitely taller than the Marvel Legends version. Here he is next to the original MAFEX Gambit and Magneto. Here he is next to the original MAFEX 185 Spidey and the City Toys bootleg. Here he is next to the amazing Yamaguchi Rivaltech bootlegs of Deadpool and Wolverine. Here he is with City Toys Agent Venom and Agent Anti-Venom. And finally, here he is with Marvel Legends movie Logan and movie Deadpool. So that was my look at this MAF 96 Wolverine bootleg from AliExpress. Is it any good? Well, based strictly on my copy that I have here, I would say that it is a really good KO. But of course, with it being a KO, it's hard to guarantee something and say that if you get this figure, it will be the same as mine. You never know if there will be some kind of QC issues that will make it far worse than what you saw in this video. In terms of quality, getting these KOs is always a gamble. But again, talking from my experience, based on what I've received, this is a really good bootleg. The sculpt is good, paint job as well. The paint bleeding issues are minimum. The only big issue for me is the hip articulation. Because of that, you can't put him in his iconic crouching pose. I mean, you can, but not as much as you would probably want. Other than that, the articulation is good, joints are fine, all accessories are included, even a copy of a MAFEX stand, which by itself is valuable, and you are getting all of this for around 20 bucks. They even got the height right, in terms that it's probably the same as the original. Taking all that into consideration, I would say that this is a nice KO to have, even if you want it just for custom parts. But I would also add to that, before you maybe decide to get this MAF KO, I would advise you to wait just a little bit more for the City Toys version to come out. I assume that it will be even better than this one. Leg articulation probably won't be as limited as it is on this guy, and the figure will definitely be a bit shorter, which is something that a lot of people seem to prefer. City Toys version is now being released and mine is on the way. So stay tuned for a comparison. It will be on the channel as soon as I get the figure. But for now, what do you guys think about this MAF Wolverine bootleg? Did it exceed your expectations, or do you think that it's bad? Are you interested in getting this figure? Will you wait for the City Toys one, or do you plan on maybe getting both? Let me know all of that down in the comments. I will also leave a link for where I got this figure down in the description, just in case someone needs it. As always, a special shout out goes to my Patreon supporters for helping me to do what I do here on the channel. Everything earned there goes into the channel's content, so if anyone else can join us and help, please do so. Patreon link is in the description as well. If not, that's also okay. You are still helping simply by watching and sharing my videos. So thank you all for watching, thank you for being here with me, and I'll see ya in the next video.